I know, I just want to get it up so we can just make sure everything's looking good.
We're about to, well, we're going live now, but we're about to start a little bit of a discussion, which is all based on our personal experiences here. We just might wait a little while just for some others to come in, because I think there might be a little bit of a delay. This is the first time that we've done this, so
welcome. Thank you everybody for joining us. It's so exciting to be on here and experiencing a Facebook Live, even though we've done a few personally in our smaller groups. We haven't done it in a big setting like this. So we are just going to wait a few more moments for everybody to jump on, and then we will get started. But if you are live and watching, please feel free to pop a comment into the Facebook chat, maybe a thumbs up to say that it's on and it's working. And yeah, we will get started very soon. So thank you for joining us. I think we've got one on there.
Yeah, so just give us a thumbs up, or I'm ready, or that you can hear us, because sometimes the audio can not work.
Yeah, hopefully it's all in the
clear. Past,
so good old technology, hey? Who would have thought you can just go live like this? Yeah, thumbs up.
We got to get with the times.
I know. Oops. Look at me. Got to get with the times. Good old technology, hey? Who would have thought you can just go live like this?
Yeah, there we go.
All right, we've got a comment. Very good.
Cool. All right, we're in. So we might as well get started. We're going to try to make this pretty short and sweet, but just allow yourself the time to just take this in. Pretty much from the outset, I just wanted to basically introduce ourselves. So a lot of you know us, but some of you don't. And my name's Michael, and this is Amy. So I'm a real shift practitioner, basically work within the realms of NLP. I'm also a meditation leader. And
and I'm a holistic life coach and a meditation leader. And I've also love learning about the mind body. So I've done a bit of a mind body practitioner course to help people with that. So yeah.
Yeah. So collectively, Amy and I have decided to
sorry, I want to see the comments. I can't see the comments. Sorry, bear with me a sec, because I know people are commenting and I just want to be able to see.
Okay.
Yeah, because otherwise we can't interact with them. Oh, here we are. Great. Let's see these posts.
No, that's not it.
Yeah.
You got them?
Yeah.
All right.
Perfect.
Cool.
Oh, Megan's just got back from hiking 5 days straight and felt amazing. Oh, that's exciting, Megan. That's so cool. Thank you for joining us then, making the effort. Oh, is that not? Oh, anyway.
Yeah, I don't.
All right, maybe that's not the same comment. All right, let's forget that, because that's confusing. Begin. Let's just get started.
So, from the outset,
yes.
Amy and I have teamed together, and our message is quietening the mind. It's tuning into your inner guidance system, and it's also then reconnecting to your true self. So there's 3 parts, and we break that down in a program that is called the Deep Dive. But today we're talking about 5 habits to have a happy and successful relationship. Now, from the outset, I want to make it really clear that we don't have the perfect relationship. Aww. In fact, we're pretty good, but we've gone through our challenges. And I just wanted to let you guys know from the outset that is not the case. We're not perfect. We have the same challenges as everyone else. And but we've just found that on our journey that we have managed to overcome a lot of challenges where we actually had a lot of conflict, in the early days, and we had to really work through them. So this is not just for couples. So this is just for any kind of relationship as well. And one point that I just want to get down, if you want to take this seriously and just get a few notes down, I encourage you to just get a pen and a bit of paper and just get ready to take some notes. So that is all of the, what do you call it? Housekeeping. Yeah, housekeeping.
It's the housekeeping for tonight.
That's an important part of a relationship, the housekeeping.
Yeah. So I guess with this little masterclass or workshop, whatever you want to call it, there is going to be little times in the session that you will get a chance to, write a few notes and also interact with us. So if you'd like to put some comments in the chat box, unfortunately, it doesn't seem that we've got that working that well this time, but this is our first time doing this type of session. So we will get that a bit clearer next time, but we will endeavour to get that sorted out. But first of all, I think it's a good starting point, and something that I did years ago when I first started this type of self-development, self-growth work was actually on a retreat with my mum. I think I looked at it was about 8 years ago. And the first activity that we did, which was a really big eye-opener for me, was called a Wheel of Life exercise. And this is something that we're going to start straight off the bat, get you working, get you into that, so you can have a little look. And often we don't take the time to look at where areas of our life are lacking and what needs attention, and where we can actually put some energy to help us have a happier and more fulfilling life. So my first thing for you is to grab a piece of paper and a pen if you have one handy, or if not, go grab one. And we're going to rule like a star or a cross, and we're going to rule across it. So it's essentially going to look like, see my dodgy one here. So the first line is going straight down and then across. Don't look too close, it's pretty bad.
It's kind of like
it's
that.
Back to front. So just 1 line, 2 lines, 3 lines intersecting the others. So you'll end up with 8 points on each point. So once you've got that drawn up, you're into your headings for each of the lines. The first one is time for self. So if you can just quickly jot that down on the top of the line, doesn't matter which line, to be honest, as long as it's one. I've just got mine at the top, time for self. The next heading that you can write down is health. The next one is going to be stress management. The fourth one is relationships. I'll give you a bit of time to write those down, probably too fast. The fifth one is sleep. Then weight, meditation. And the last one is exercise. So you'll end up looking a little bit like that with each of your lines with the topics at the top. So just quickly on those lines now, imagine the furthest point out is number 10. The furthest point in is 0. So 0 being terrible, hopeless, nothing as the worst, and 10 being the best. So I'd like you just to take a moment or two. Don't think about this too much, just go for it. It's not really the focus, but it's just a good exercise to see what areas in your life that you'd like to work on, and just jot them down. So from 1 to 10, put a line on the put a line on the line, like a mark on the line, to see where you're at for each of those. So take a little quick moment to complete that.
I did a little video today, you might have seen on the page, and it was about exercise and my lack of doing it as a routine recently. And yeah, I'm really noticing that just through a couple of injuries and how I'm feeling in my body and everything. So for me, I think my exercise would be down at about a 2 or a 1. So I have room to improve in that area, but I'm getting plenty of sleep.
Yeah, well, that's important, especially for a shift worker.
Yeah.
You're probably something that you didn't have much of. All right, so hopefully that's given you a little bit of time to complete that. And now the idea is to kind of see if you can draw some type of line. I only did this quite quickly. Some type of circle representative. Mine's a bit wonky.
Looks like a heart.
A bit like a heart, a bit of love heart. Oh, the relationships. I'm not sure. So I guess the purpose of doing this is just to see for you guys, to see what areas we need to focus on. And ideally, I guess you're along tonight to learn a little bit more about relationships. So maybe that's something that you'd like to improve on. So we'll reflect back on that at the end.
All right, perfect. So let's get started. Now, I just wanted to talk a little bit about archetypes and pretty much how we've generally got like a real masculine and a real feminine type identity that comes into a household. And this has been carried over from past generations. So you might notice that maybe, this applies to maybe your parents and their parents. And so those archetypes just keep getting passed on, and we're the ones who absorb that identity. So for example, like typically in previous generations, you might have had a really masculine archetype being the breadwinner of the family, someone who suppresses emotions, just withholds always the strong identity, protecting the family, like the protector, these kinds of things. Whereas maybe on the feminine side and typically like the person who, like the wife of the house, will generally be like the nurturer, will also be somewhat maybe submissive as well. They might not really, have the ability to express and have their opinions heard. And I think you know where I'm going with this, but I'm basically saying that as consciousness is actually evolving, these are actually balancing out more. And my question was, why do we have to adhere to these archetypes? Because basically we just about tried it, didn't we? In the first, a few years of our marriage, and certainly into the first part of our parenthood, we were trying to be these identities, and it didn't work. I got really unwell. I was just chasing the money. I was super busy, always putting, other things first other than, our family and the connection between the two of us. So if we can eliminate those identities, put them to the side and just be and see each other as we are, rather than in the confines of those identities, then that in itself is going to really help us to obviously develop not only individually ourselves, but collectively within the household as well.
It's kind of like a conditioning, isn't it? Like that's our belief that that's how it should be. The wife stays at home, the father's always working, never at home, never connected with the kids. So I guess that's just our message that, that's very old-fashioned, outdated now. So it's time to kind of reflect on different ways that you can move forward into a relationship without those sorts of old beliefs and conditioning that may have hindered a relationship in the past or been that way.
Yeah, there can be multitudes of resentment that can build, and jealousy and things like that. Because, for example, I was going to work, working full time. I had somewhat of an identity. I was able to communicate with other people. I had a sense of purpose. Amy felt that she didn't have much of a sense of purpose. She felt that maybe she was locked into this identity of being a mother. And so, she would have resentment, and then I would come home and then I would think that maybe she, hasn't, contributed as much, but then, so this tit for tat sort of thing started to happen. So that's the route that you don't want to go down.
And I think everyone can kind of relate to that. You get trapped into that, especially, I'm just speaking on a general basis, but, with young children, it's easy enough to get stuck into those sorts of roles. But I think, part of our journey has been kind of pulling that apart and breaking it down and realizing that why does that need to be like that? Questioning those norms, questioning the societal, conditioning that we're all brought up with. So I put it out to you guys that maybe that's a simple thing that you could kind of look at. But that's not one of the habits, but it's just, an awareness that we've learnt from the experience in our relationship. So,
all right, should we get off? We should get underway. We've got 5 habits that we're going to explain to you now that have really worked for us and completely transformed our relationship. So Amy's going to start with the first one.
Yeah, so these habits can actually be, as we said earlier, it can be reused in any type of relationship, not a romantic or a intimate relationship. It can be used in anything in life. So you can kind of take these with an open mind as well. But the first habit is respect their values, respect the other person's values, even if they are different to your values. Okay, because often that they are, right? We're not always the same. So I'd like you guys to take a moment now. This is what it's all about, to kind of do a little bit of work as well. Take a moment now and write down 3 things matters to you most? What's 3 things that you are super passionate about that you would love to do, regularly? So what's something that is one of your biggest interests?
This is just for you and what you really enjoy doing, something that you love getting your teeth into, or something that's almost like a non-negotiable,
Yeah.
And this can be vastly different to the other person's. Yeah.
So take a moment now just to think about what that might be and write them down if you have your pen and paper. So something that you value, it's really high up there on your list. And then once you've done that, I'd like you to write down a value of your partner. What is something that your partner highly values, or something that they're really passionate about, that they like to do or to share with others? So take a moment to see if you even know, if we're even aware of that. I'm sure most of us would be, but it's something that maybe sometimes we get so caught up in our own life that maybe we're not.
Yeah, I think, I'm just reflecting now and just thinking about you, Amy, and what you really like to do and your values. And Amy, as a lot of you know, she really enjoys just health and fitness and connection through that as well. So, triathlons and swimming and running and cycling, but they also involve connection with other people. And so, I think for you, that's really important.
And that's what I value. Yeah, I value health and fitness and spending, time, I guess, by myself too, because that creates that space for me to do what I love to do, away from the family. And I think obviously your value of football and the gardening, it's pretty high on your list. You can't miss the footy game. So, but that's the thing, right? It's the values that you have don't always match the values of your partner, and we need to respect that. And that's where the growth and the understanding comes from, when we can really encourage the value of the other person and what they're passionate about, and give them energy into that and create the space for them to be able to do that, because that's their authentic self. If we're taking that away, if we're coming from a space of jealousy, or you're spending too much time, gardening or whatever, then often that's going to be disruptive, and it's going to upset and take away from the authenticity of that person and what they love to do. So I think that's a really good point, is to respect their values, even if they are different from yours. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because often we just want them to be just like us. We want them to be liking the same things as us, because then it's convenient. But that's not why you got with them. You got with them because you love that they love these other things.
Yeah, to make who they make them. That's who that. Yeah.
So it's about respecting that, but not necessarily matching that and being, So you guys, I'm sure you get it now. And Amy also, she loves deep connection with friends. So I remember years ago, she started going to these women's circles. And initially I didn't like it. I didn't like it because it was different. And it was like, well, where are you going? You go and do your stuff, with the girls. And, that just means I can go out and have some beers later. So, that's not what it's about. It should be about, cool, you go and do your thing, because I know that when you get back from that, your cup's going to be full, and you're going to bring that fullness to the family. And that's sort of, look, it worked for us. I know I had to get around my own ego, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But
yeah, and I think too, sometimes we try and steal their attention. It's like, oh, we get jealous of the time that they spend doing something else. Oh, they're not with me, so they mustn't think that I'm, worthy of being around or something. So that starts to come into play too. But that, again, that we kind of, that's a whole nother level as well of understanding. But I guess the habit number 1 is respect their values, and even if they're different from yours, and encourage them encourage them to do that.
And there's one thing I just wanted to mention, is that sometimes we build guilt into a question, because we're unhappy with where they dedicate their time and energy. So what I mean by that is like, for an example, maybe your partner's sort of like getting home from work late all the time. And, you might approach it like, why you come from work late all the time? And that would immediately put her on the path of defense, right? And then that would add like a rigidity between the conversations, and then arguments and everything else ego comes into it effectively. But if you consider a reframe, because we don't know what's going on there, just delving into more conversation and just saying, hey, I've just noticed you've been coming home maybe late from work a bit lately. Is everything all right with your boss? Like, is he treating you all right? Or, you know, what projects are you working on at the moment? Is there some pretty exciting things going on? You know, so just reframing it allows for the openness of conversation rather than just completely getting on the defense and or getting them on the defense, if that makes sense. So cool.
Yeah, so that's habit number 1. Number 2.
Yeah, so this one's a big one, but it's titled try to notice the small things. So a relationship is not defined by grand gestures of love. And what I mean by that is, how often do you see on particularly like Valentine's Day or birthdays, Christmas, you know, where we just try to bring all of, you know, try to bring a massive experience or a massive gift to that particular day because we feel that it's going to make up for all the little things that we missed. Does that make sense? I mean, you know, like the big things are not going to iron out all of the mistakes that you've made through the year. Yeah,
the relationship, yeah, it's not about the big gifts. It's more about the everyday, the daily basis, the gratefulness of you know what you do every day to contribute in the relationship. So it's just the presents don't buy the love, you know, the gifts don't buy the love. So
it can help, but it's certainly not going to buy the love. Like and like it might be just something simple as hey, you know, that dinner tonight was amazing. You know, I don't know what you did with it, but you know, I just loved it. Or you know, you look really, really nice today. It's just something simple, you know. I love that you sat down and listened to me today. You know, because I had the vent after work because I was dealing with this twat at work or whatever. You know, so it's just kind of going, hey, thank you. You know, thank you, and really just putting yourself into each other's stresses, as in identifying and understanding what, you know, for example, in our situation, like what Amy goes through on a day-to-day basis, for example, when she's a teacher, then it's a process of me transporting myself into her and imagining what kind of stresses she would have had to deal with today. If we can do that consciously, then we're not stuck in our own realm and really ignoring all of the things that potentially have happened to her to maybe put her into the emotional state that she's in at the moment. So it just helps to kind of, you know, declutter all of that, if that makes sense. So
we've got a challenge for you with this one. We'd like you to try to thank your partner every day for something that they do. And it has to be something different every day. So something that they might do for you, you know, cook your dinner, pick up their shoes, you know, put the washing on, whatever it is, say hello, you know, give you a hug in the morning. Thank you for that. Just so this is your challenge. You're going to try and find one thing, just one thing every day, and different. Every day it's going to be different. You've got to be a different thing. You can't just say the same thing over and over.
I love it. So yeah, so that was number 2. Try to notice the small things. So yeah.
All right. And the next thing is encourage, not discourage each other. So this is a little bit funny for me because I felt I can, especially earlier on when the kids were little, I found it very difficult to encourage Michael to do anything outside the home because I felt that I needed to have the space or have the support when the kids were little and I was at home all the time. But we need to kind of stop and put our ego aside, and it allows the other person to experience new things and also to grow. And it's a bigger picture understanding, right? Like I remember when Michael asked, well, you know, he came and said, I really want to do this NLP course, you know, and I knew it was like a week long and it happened to be in stupid hours because it was over in the US. So he had to wake up at like 2 a.m. and go to like 12 midday and then go to bed. And it was like when the kids were a little bit younger and I just felt like, I'm like, oh my God, why are you doing this? Like, it's time that you're taking away from me. It's not fair. How do you think you're doing this? But then I really had to switch that around. And now I understand, you know, how important it is to encourage you know, each other and your partner to go and do those sorts of things, because it's benefits them in the long run, right? We kind of sometimes get so narrowed focused in that's not fair, that's not fair, that's not fair, as opposed to what's it going to bring in the bigger picture. And you know, looking back at it now, it's brought so much to us. So that's just one example. You know, I think that's something that we probably need to practice more and more, is to really encourage the other to really step into themselves and whatever that needs to be, and support each other, because that's a give and a take, right? Because I know that, you know, Michael does that, but I can also, you know, go and do my growth and, you know, my weekend retreats and things like that without feeling that guilt of not being at home, because, you know, it's a bit of a balancing act too. Not that it needs to, yeah, it's kind of a tricky one as well, isn't it? Yeah.
And look, effectively healthy relationships need to grow together, not separately. You know, when we encourage each other to grow, that's when, you know, all of the health comes into the relationship, because there's a dual or a mutual respect, and we're trying to honor them and what they're bringing to the world. If we put barriers up, then it's just going to build resentment. It's going to build jealousy and insecurities and all the other crap that comes with it. So yeah, for sure. So I just wanted to just give you guys an activity with this one. It's just while you're sitting there, just imagine that your partner has just decided to do a course, and it goes for a whole week, and it's going to be away from the household. However that looks for you. And it
costs money, like it's
costs money. Yep, there's an investment in it. Yep. And just notice what kind of resistances you would feel. And then once you notice that there are resistances, because often there are, maybe ask the question, why? Like, I wonder why I feel those resistances. You know, where does that come from? Just an exercise for you guys to do. So that was number 3, which is encourage, not discourage each other. So the next habit is have a balance. Have a bit of a balance with time together, time alone, and time with friends. So, you know, I think we all have little parts of this, but whether that is kind of, you know, balanced and in harmony, that's the question. And certainly it's not always balanced for us. You know, that's something that we sometimes struggle with. We got kids, you know, and we need to, they're always our priority. So when I'm sort of talking about this topic, I'm obviously conscious that everyone has an individual scenario within a household or within a relationship. So I just, for the purpose of this, I just wanted to use a ratio and based on a week. And it's just for practicality basis. But let's just say in 1 week, you had to split these up. So we're talking about time together, time alone, and time with friends. So splitting those up. So you might want to spend 1 day through the week, or 1 day or 1 night just to yourself, just alone, because that's really healthy to be on your own. You know, it actually is very healthy to be on your own, because you get to obviously, you know, have a look internally, spend some time, have some quietness, some space. You know, it allows you to kind of tune into yourself a little bit more and without any distractions. So it's really healthy. You might want to spend 3 nights together with your partner, or 3 days together, depending on your situation. So we're spending the majority of all of this with our partner, because I think, you know, I mean, this is just an example, but it's showing that we want to spend more time with them as well. And, you know, we might want to just allocate 2 nights of the week with maybe collective friends. So friends where we sort of have, you know, collectively together. It could be just the neighbors, could be friends up the road, whatever. And then 1 night with individual friends. For example, I might need to go and just hang out with fellas and have a good laugh. And Amy might want to head off with the girls and have a bit of a laugh with them. So that's our own friends that aren't collective together. It's just an example. Obviously with children, we're just mindful of the balance and making time for each other as well. But again, just experiencing, you know, opposite roles, if possible, is a really good exercise to do as well. For example, like, I mean, if you're a full-time mum, just putting yourself in your shoes.
I think I remember doing that to you when I I had to go away or something, I was like, that's it. You can see what it's like to be the stay-at-home mum. Like, you need to do that. But at the same time, when I reflected, I'm like, I don't want to be a full-time paramedic. Like, I don't want to be getting woken up like all through the night. But I think that understanding of each other's roles is really important, just to kind of really consciously go, I know what they're feeling. I know how they're, if they're tired or whatever, and take that awareness with you when you're speaking with them and interacting with them as well.
Yeah, cool. And diversity like this, and hanging out with different people, and spending time on your own, and spending time with your partner, that type of diversification, it actually brings depth and health to the relationship. And you can understand why. If you're hanging out with different people, you're basically, you're learning from other people, you're sharing energies with other people, and then you're bringing them back. And, it's very healthy. As humans, we're supposed to be in that sort of, tribal in and out, type scenario. And this is, we found that this really works for us. So, it's just, again, something that we found that's really helped. So we got one more habit to go through, number 5.
Our last habit, that is to commit to new experiences or rituals together. And that's, I think, where the depth of our relationship comes from, and that excitement and that fun and the play. Because when you can do that with your partner, it can bring another level of that intimacy and that connection. So
what are you talking about? What kind of stuff?
Like when we learned to snowboard together, that was really fun, just because we were both beginners. We were both new at something. No one was dominant over the other one. No one was better than the other. Often in situations, one person's usually better than the next. And that's when we can, kind of creates that, I'm not good enough, or I don't want to do that, or that kind of, I
did laugh when you fell on your ass a few times.
Yeah, I got a big
bruises. We got photos of some significant bruises.
Yeah, it's fine. You can laugh at me, but like that sort of stuff. And even as a family, like if you've got kids, like we went, what was that, in zip lining in Vanuatu as a family. I was like, oh my God, what are we doing? This is probably very unsafe in some country with dodgy places, but it was fun, and we all experienced that, because when we push our comfort zones, that's when we grow the most. And I think that's what I love to do in life generally, is find the comfort in the uncomfortable, and really pushing that. And to do that together is really powerful, whether we do it with friends, in a relationship with friends, because that brings that connection together too, or relationship with, your partner. It can really strengthen that too, because it's a lot to do about your neuroscience, isn't it? Creating the emotion with the feeling, and then, tying that all together, it almost like cements it into your memory, and you'll never forget it. But
us traveling together has been huge for us, because we're all in it together, so if you go away on little trips together, that's just amazing. Just little trips, doesn't have to be anything massive. So
try new things. That's probably the biggest message in that.
So that was the last one, but I just wanted to, just really a key focus point here is, if you can shift your attention. So this is collectively the whole thing that we've gone through. If you can shift your attention from like, what's in it for me, which is typically the ego mind, that's sort of looking to gain from this scenario. Then if you can shift from that to what's in it for us as a united couple, or a united collective, or a united family, and stop looking at short-term gains and start having a look at, this is a long road. This is a long road together, and we should invest, in the long road rather than the short little wins that we can get along the way, which is the trap that we fell into for many years. And we've been married we've been together for 16 years. And I would say that probably 9 or 10 of those years we were living in that.
Yeah, probably.
In and out of it.
And
I think that in the last sort of 5 or 6 years, that mutual respect has helped us to have a new depth and connection that we didn't have before.
But I think the main point of this whole thing, even though we've got those 5 habits, and I guess the biggest shift for us in the last 5 and 6 years is the understanding of who we are, like true. That coming back to, you can't love anybody else until you love yourself fully and completely, you know.
But you can't love yourself
until you know yourself. That's true. Yeah. And so getting to know yourself is probably the first step of this whole thing. You know, it's like the foundation. If you know yourself well enough, warts and all, you know, all the bad parts too, you know, like whether you're whatever, I feel like whether you're bossy or controlling, or because they're things that I've been working through, but whether what that is still who you are. And when you're understanding yourself deeper on that level, then you can kind of respect and understand other, you know, parts of yourself that may not always be what you're expecting the outcome to be. So
yeah, so typically in relationships, you might experience jealousy, you might experience insecurities, you might experience like a comparison syndrome. These are all insecurities within ourselves. These are all things that's our problem, you know. They're things that we need to work on.
Yeah, because we can't get the fix from out there. No one out there is going to fix our problems. It comes from within to go out, you know. And most of you probably have heard of this before, but this is probably our biggest message is we can't keep grasping at things outside to fix us when, you know, oh, you know, that if we go away for the weekend, that'll fix a relationship. Or if we have this bottle of wine together, that will solve all the problems in the world. You know, like that is so much more than that surface stuff, you know, and that's probably why our relationship's deep into that another level, because we've both been on a journey of growth and self-development and self-care, you know, like really taking time to care for ourselves and get to know ourselves first before we can give that out to other people. So if any of these things are resonating with you, then I think it's because sometimes we don't always take that step to look within, you know, and that's probably our biggest step that we need to take.
And one of the biggest parts of that journey is to have another reflection at the wheel that we looked at before, the wheel of life pattern. And to have a look, does it make a complete circle? And if it looks a little bit higgledy-piggledy like this, like a star type shape or something weird, then you know where the work is to be done. And these are the types of topics that we cover on our 9-week deep dive program. And this is what I just wanted to have a chat about really briefly with you guys, because I know that if you're watching this, then you're interested in developing yourself. And so the 9-week deep dive program, the next one starts on the 27th of April, but it's all about that kind of stuff. It's all
balancing
about
the wheel, isn't it?
We're balancing the wheel, yeah. So it's about quietening the mind down, because if we quieten the mind down, we start to tune into ourselves. If we tune into ourselves, we can start to develop an inner guidance system or an inner compass that can start to show us the way of where we're supposed to be heading before all of these layers of conditioning and society's pressures have come into play. We've forgotten who we are often, and that's because of all of these external distractions that continue to vie for our attention, especially this day and age with social media that we're using right now, right? I hope we're not distracting you too much. But the point is that this is what this program is all about. It's super powerful. We've ran one just recently. We had 9 people in it, and it was really good feedback. And if this is something that you are interested in, for being on this and for watching this, we'd like to offer you $100 off the next one. If you're interested, just shoot us a message or give us a thumbs up, and or just say I'm in the comments. And then that way we can maybe just give you a quick buzz and just do a discovery call and just see where you're at. Just pretty much have a chat and see where you're at, and then and see if it's something for you. Because you might find that after a chat, you might go, oh, it's not for me. And that's fine. But, you know, we just thought we wanted to offer it to you. And we're super excited about it.
I think, you know, that's what we're saying in the last 5 or 6 years, Michael and I have been on our own journeys, you know, and our relationship has been up and down and a bit of a roller coaster like most of us over that sort of time. But Michael went on his kind of self-discovery journey after he got quite sick with his shift work and being a paramedic and trying to be the stay-at-home, look after everything dad, and not the stay-at-home dad, sorry, the working dad trying to be everything. And he kind of went on his path and tried to help himself and develop himself. And then I went on my path, on my journey, but now we've kind of our paths are crossed again in that respect, and that's what's kind of brought us together to share this with you guys, to strengthen all sorts of relationships with yourself, relationships with others, relationships with your children. You know, I think that's been the biggest one as well for us, is deepening that relationship with our children, and it's been really important for us as well. So we'd love you to you know, explore a little bit more of this work, because we feel it's really important to get the message out there for others to live more in alignment and more balanced in all aspects of their life, not just have one amazing thing. Maybe it's a career that you focus on and everything else is crumbling behind, but keeping that nice holistic balance to live a happy and fulfilling life. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think we've probably wound it up there, but we're just super grateful that you have joined us on our first live. This is super exciting and scary as well. And but now we've done it, right? So
I hope you guys have all seen it okay, and it's come across loud and clear. And yeah, anyway, I'm sure we'll
we'll find out later. And
we'll have to work out those comments next time. I can't see people's comments.
This is not our. If we had a little part on that wheel that said technology and our competency, it would be pretty low. It'd be right in the middle there. So
well, that's it. Anyway,
all right,
we're here. But yes, we'd love you to comment if you're keen to take advantage of that $100 off offer. All right.
Beautiful. Thanks, guys.
Good night.
Have a good night.